Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth release. This time we've got the Strike Attack Tapejara, and I have to give a shout out and a thank you to my good friend Jurassic KM, as always, for helping me to get a hold of this one and for consistently just being an awesome friend and hooking me up with stuff that I previously did not have. So definitely, again, a huge thank you goes out to him. But as you can see, we now have a new version of the Tapejara from Mattel. Brand new paint variant of this figure, which does look a bit different from the older one. At first glance, you might look at it and think, oh, it's probably the same figure as the one we had previously. But if I put this image up here next to it, you can definitely see again, there are some very obvious differences. I did not search out my other Tapejara because, again, the sculpt definitely appears to be exactly the same. There's no real differences or even need to compare the two, and it's at the bottom of a tote that I did not feel like digging out for next to no reason, so didn't really bother with that. It's just, again, a straight up repaint of the previously released figure. But you can see, again, the packaging is pretty much the same as it usually is when it comes to these figures, all of which we now have reviewed except for the Monolophosaurus. So let's pop this box open and check it out. So here is our new version of the Tapejara, and it does look pretty cool, but not as nice as the first version, I would say. Personally, I definitely prefer the older one, especially when it comes to the flashiness of the colors and the wings, as the wings are fairly dull on this one, but it does still look pretty cool. Again, we don't need to go over the sculpt as we've already done that with the first review, but we do want to take a look at what differentiates this one from the older one, and that would be the coloration. And you can see this one does have kind of like a brownish tone for the primary body color, and you can see a really nice reddish tone move down the front of the crest all the way down into the face and beak of our pterosaur. It also runs back here along the jawline, and that looks okay, but at the same time almost makes it look like it's got like makeup on, but not too bad overall as far as the coloration goes. It definitely plays off of the brownish tones fairly nicely. We do have more of that coloration there circling around the eye, which we can see, and then we've got a yellow eye and a black pupil. As you move back up into the crest of the pterosaur, you'll also notice that there is a different variation of color up here in the crest, as we have a brownish tone up here. So again, not the greatest color choices. Does it look pretty decent? It looks okay. Does it look natural? Yeah, sure, it definitely looks natural, but does it really stand out and, really draw you in? Not as much as you might expect. Again, when it comes to a Mattel paint job, they often come up with pretty cool looking color schemes, but this one kind of falls a little flat for me. I can easily see this being one of the figures that many people pass up in this line just because it's not anything that really draws you in, and if you do already have the original Tapejara, I definitely think that one's nicer. But as you move into the inside of the mouth, we can see the teeth are painted for our pterosaur. You can also see that here for the lower jaw, as well as a tongue. And again, the tongue is painted with a pinkish tone. Kind of looks like it's basically the same tone of color that we actually have here, so it's more of like a reddish sort of a tone. There's also something hanging off of the underside of its neck right there. It looked like a hair or something, but again, it basically has a similar tone of color moving through the mouth as what we have up here. Maybe slightly different shade of color, but overall it's not all that far off. Also, I always find it quite interesting that Mattel adds teeth to so many pterosaurs that in fact did not actually have teeth. I believe in Jurassic World the game, the pterosaur had teeth. This one, of course, Tapejara, but a lot of the time Mattel just does that anyway. And in general, the Jurassic World line kind of seems to portray their pterosaurs a little bit more ferociously than they probably were in reality. But as you move back into the body, again, you basically just have a brownish sort of a maybe it's not even like a brown, it's more like a green bordering on a brown. It's a very interesting tone of color, definitely more like almost like a military green than a brown. But as you move back, that's basically all you see outside of some patterning here in the wings. Again, you can see this darker tone, kind of like a really dark brownish tone here that kind of just like splatters through a few areas of the wings. And it's only early on in the wings because as you move out toward the tips, there's nothing else really going on. There is a speckling on the figure, which you can see right there. Definitely a little bit of a speckling throughout, but nothing too impressive as far as that goes. And then when you move to the underside, again, outside of the speckling and the greenish tones, there's really nothing else going on for our Tapejara. You can really see the speckling, though, in like the chest and stuff and the underbelly of the pterosaur. There is the fax app code if you would like to add this one to your collection as well. Overall, though, again, it is basically just the same figure that we had previously as far as the sculpt goes. Even the articulation is the same. You've got the articulation in the legs right here, which is always like the weirdest spot of articulation. You have an action feature button again for the wing flapping that you can see right there. Pretty standard Mattel pterosaur stuff. And then you also, of course, have a swivel in the neck, which can move fairly decently. A little wiggle room up and down as well. A little left and right, actually, also. So you just have a slight bit of articulation as far as that goes. And then, of course, the articulated jaw. But past that point, again, that's really about it. I don't think there's much more that we need to go over when it comes to this pterosaur. I think we've pretty much covered everything that would differentiate this one from the original version. So definitely a fun figure, but not really one that I'm sure many people are like running out to grab, because it is just a repaint, but not even a great one. It's kind of a lackluster repaint, but I'm still pretty happy to now have another version of the Tapejara to add to my collection. So if you are interested in this, make sure you check your local Walmart or Target as the Jurassic World Rebirth stuff begins to slowly trickle out. This one should show up at some point in the very near future. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.